How to handle age excusitis. Age excusitis can be cured. A few years ago, while I was conducting a sales training program, I discovered a good serum which both cures the disease and vaccinates you so you won't get it in the first place. In that training program, there was a trainee named Cecil. Cecil, who was 40, wanted to shift over to set himself up as a manufacturer's representative, but he thought he was too old. After all, he explained, I would have to start from scratch and I am too old for that now. I am 40. I talked with Cecil several times about his old age problem. I used the old medicine. You're only as old as you feel. But I found I was getting nowhere. Finally, I discovered a method that worked. One day after a training session, I tried it on Cecil. I said, Cecil, when does a man's productive life begin? He thought a couple of seconds and answered, Oh, when he's about 20, I guess. Okay, I said. Now, when does a man's productive life end? Cecil answered, Well, if he stays in good shape and likes his work, I guess a man is still pretty useful when he is 70 or so. All right, I said. A lot of folks are highly productive after they reach 70. But let us agree with what you have just said. A man's productive years stretch from 20 to 70. That's 50 years in between, or half century. Cecil, I said, you're 40 now. How many years of productive life have you spent? 20, he answered. And how many have you left? 30, he replied. In other words, Cecil, you haven't even reached the halfway point. You have used up only 40% of your productive years. I looked at Cecil and realized he had got the point. He was cured of age excusitis. Cecil saw he still had many opportunity filled years left. He switched from thinking, I'm already old, to I'm still young. Cecil now realized that how old we are is not important. It's one's attitude toward age that makes it a blessing or a barricade. Curing yourself of age excusitis often opens doors to opportunity that you thought were locked tight. A relative of mine spent years doing many different things, selling, operating his own business, working in a bank, but he never quite found what he really wanted to do most. Finally, he concluded that the one thing he wanted more than anything else, was to be a minister. But when he thought about it, he found he was too old. After all, he was 45, had three young children, and little money. But fortunately, he mustered all of his strength and told himself, 45 or not, I am going to be a minister. With tons of faith but little else, he enrolled in a 5-year ministerial training program in Wisconsin. 5 years later, he was ordained as a minister and settled down with a fine congregation in Illinois. Old? Of course not. He still has 20 years of productive life ahead of him. I talked with this man not long ago and he said to me, You know, if I had not made that great decision when I was 45, I would have spent the rest of my life growing old and bitter. Now I feel every bit as young as I did 25 years ago. And he almost looked it too. When you lick age excusitis, the natural result is to gain the optimism of youth and feel of youth. When you beat down your fears of age limitations, you add years to your life as well as success. A former university colleague of mine provides an interesting angle on how age excusitis was defeated. Bill was graduated from Harvard in the 20s. After 24 years in the stock brokerage business, during which time he made two modest fortune, Bill decided he wanted to become a college professor. Bill's friends warned him that he would overtax himself in the rugged learning program ahead. But Bill was determined to reach his goal and enrolled in the University of Illinois at the age of 51. At 55, he had earned his degree. Today, Bill is chairman of the Department of Economics at a fine liberal arts college. He is happy too. He smiles when he says, I have got almost a third of my good years left. Old age is a failure disease. Defeat it by refusing to let it hold you back. When is a person too young? The I'm too young variety of age excusitis does much damage too. About a year ago, a 23-year-old fellow named Jerry came to me with a problem. Jerry was a fine young man. He had been a paratrooper in the service and then had gone to college. While going to college, Jerry supported his wife and son by selling for a large transfer and storage company. He had done a terrific job both in college and for his company. But today Jerry was worried. Dr. Schwartz, he said, I have got a problem. My company has offered me the job of sales manager. This would make me supervisor over 8 salesmen. Congratulations, that's wonderful news, I said. But you seem worried. Well, he continued, all 8 men I am to supervise are from 7 to 21 years older than I. What do you think I should do? Can I handle it? Jerry, I said, the general manager of your company obviously thinks you are old enough or he wouldn't have offered you this job. Just remember these 3 points and everything will work out just fine. First, don't be age conscious. Back on the farm, a boy became a man when he proved he could do the work of a man. His number of birthdays had nothing to do with it. And this applies to you. When you prove you are able to handle the job of a sales manager, you are automatically old enough. Second, don't take advantage of your new gold bars. Show respect for the salesman. Ask them for their suggestions. Make them feel they are working for a team captain, not a dictator. Do this, and the men will work with you, not against you. Third, get used to having older persons working for you. Leaders in all fields soon find they are younger than many of the people they supervise. So get used to having older men work for you. It will help you a lot in the coming years when even bigger opportunities develop. And remember, Jerry, your age won't be handled. Your age won't be a handicap unless you make it one. Today, Jerry is doing fine. He loves the transportation business and now he's planning to organize his own company in a few years. Youth is a liability only when the youth thinks it is. You often hear that certain jobs require considerable physical maturity, jobs like selling securities and insurance. That you have either got to have gray hair or not any hair at all in order to gain an investor's confidence is plain nonsense. What really matters is how well you know your job. If you know your job and understand people, you are sufficiently mature to handle it. Age has no real relation to ability unless you convince yourself that your salon will give you the stuff you need to make your mark. Many young people feel that they are being held back because of their youth. Now, it is true that another person in an organization who is insecure and job scared may try to block your way forward using age or some other reason. But the people who really count in the company will not. They will give you as much responsibility as they may feel you can handle well. Demonstrate that you have ability and positive attitudes, and your youthfulness will be considered an advantage.